In this lesson, we will learn the most basic form of rigging. So what is the most basic form of rigging? Well, that would simply be parenting, where we take an object and have that linked to another object so that that parent object now controls a child, hence the name parent. So this is, yes, a very basic form, but it is used all the time when you rig because it's so essential. If we were to go ahead and take a look at the character in this scene, this is an asset from Anthony Ward. This is really cool, creating a sci-fi hero. And what we see here, if we were to go ahead and start to click through his mesh and start to rotate, again we can press the E key to grab our rotate gizmo. We can see that everything is separated. It's not moving the way it should. You can see when we start to move the neck around, including the character's head, not even his hair moves. Now thankfully we can fix this by simply linking or parenting these objects together. So we'll learn a few ways we can parent, how to unparent, and we'll also take a look at the hierarchy we create in Max's schematic view. But let's go ahead and get started. So, considering the spine, we know that this mid part of the spine here, this should follow the base of the spine. So in order for that to happen, we'd simply grab our link tool, and now we can go ahead and select the midsection that needs to be linked to the base and just drag. So I'm just left mouse button dragging over to where we'd like to parent the selected object to. Now when we let go, you can see Max has quickly gone in and created that parent-child relationship, and it also keeps the child object selected. So if we were to go in and select the base now, watch this. Let's press the E key to go back to our rotate tool. Start to move this around. Now both objects follow. Alright, great. Now how about the chest? We know that we need to make sure that that is connected to this midsection here. And you can also see that we have these blades here connected to our chest. So thankfully we can go in and link multiple objects. So what I'll do is go ahead and select this blade group that's tied directly to the chest. We can now control click the chest, and with those both selected, we can now go to our link tool and link right there to the midsection. And now you'll see when we take the midsection and start to move this around, those blades follow. Great. Now there are blades at the very back that will need to be connected. So just taking a look at these, we know that the last three here should be connected to the base of the spine. So let's take care of that. We'll grab our link tool and link to the base. We always want to test things out. So let's go to the base and start to rotate. Great. Now this next set of blades needs to be connected to the middle of the spine. So let's take care of that. Grab our link tool and link. So as we start to rotate, you can see that those now follow. We could also go to our move tool, press the W key and start to move this around. Scaling also works. So if we were to press the R key and start to scale, you could see that all objects from the parent to the children connected to that parent will also scale. We're tying those transforms together. Really exciting. Now what if we wanted to separate a child from its parent? Well, we'd simply use the unlink tool. Alright, so if we wanted to separate, let's say, the chest, let's go ahead and select that piece of geometry and we'll use unlink. And now you'll see when we go back to our midsection, if we were to go in and select it, I'll press the E key to go back to the rotate tool. The chest stays behind while the other objects follow. Alright, so really straightforward, but again, a very useful tool. And we'll learn more about it as we proceed. Chances are we want the chest to be linked back to the midsection. Let's go ahead and take care of that. We should be comfortable with the linking tool by now. And we'll go ahead and test this out. Now how about these other objects here? Well, of course we can go ahead and work with our link tool to get these connected. But let's go ahead and take a look at Max's schematic view, which will show us clearly the hierarchy we are creating as we link. So if we were to head over to Graph Editors, you'll find that we can create a new schematic view here. We could also get to existing schematic views if we have created several. We'd access them from here, so we don't have to keep creating these schematic views. We could just go ahead and work with what we already have saved out. So if I were to go ahead and choose New Schematic View, take a look at this hierarchy that we've made. Now, just to give you an idea of how to navigate in the schematic view, it's the same way we would navigate in our viewport. So we'd use the middle mouse button to kind of pan the view. We could do the same thing in the schematic view. To zoom in and out, we can hold down Control Alt and drag with the middle mouse button. Again, the same thing in our viewport, or simply use the scroll button on your mouse. But again, let's go ahead and take a look at this hierarchy that we have created. So, by the look of this, you could see exactly where the base of the spine is. You can see that it's right at the top here because it's the topmost node in this pyramid hierarchy. So if we were to go ahead and select that, we know that, hey, there's the base. So where do you think the mid of the spine would be? Well, it'd be right underneath that because that would be the next parent up. So we can go ahead and select the mid spine very easily. Now what would these objects be? Well, they'd simply be the blades that have also been parented to the base of the spine. And notice they're on the same exact level. This is very clear, which is really cool. Now, what if we wanted to go in and parent and continue to parent to this hierarchy? So just to kind of find the chest, here it is. We know that the neck and head should follow this object. So we just want to go ahead and search for those objects. Here's the neck. Here's the head. Alright, so what I'll do here is start with the neck. We can go ahead and select that, and we can go ahead and grab our connect tool. Notice it looks just like the link tool because it's essentially the link tool. If we were to go ahead and select that, now we can go ahead and drag a connection from the neck over to the chest, and now those have been connected together. Alright, here's the head. We know that the head needs to be connected to the neck, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll simply go ahead and drag with our connect tool over to the neck. And now that that has been done, if we were to go ahead and press the W key in our viewport, I'll go ahead and minimize the schematic view. You can see now, when we go in and grab the chest and start to rotate, the neck and head follow. Really exciting. When we go to the neck, the head follows. Alright, so we have the hair and blades to take care of. We should have an idea of how to do that now. Here is the character's head and eyes. Here we have the spine, or the protrusions from the character's head as well as his hair. What I'll do is go to the select tool in the schematic view so that when we start to select between these nodes, notice we can see exactly what they are in the viewport. If we're under our connect tool, it's not going to show us that, but we could still mouse over to get an idea of what those objects are. Alright, so taking a look, here are those blades, really cool blades that are poking out of the character's head. We could go ahead and make sure that they are linked or connected to the head. We could go ahead and grab our connect tool and create the hierarchy. Great, we can go back to the select tool, grab the next node. Here is his clump of hair, which also needs to be parented to the character's head. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Again, you can see that those two objects that we have just linked are now on the same level in this hierarchy. And that's going to be the case for this last object that we need to connect to the head as well. Alright, really cool. Now, what if we wanted to unlink or disconnect? Well, here's the disconnect tool. So if I wanted to take this clump of hair that is currently parent to the character's head, let's say if we wanted to go ahead and separate that clump of hair. Well, all we need to do is select the node and use unlink selected to disconnect. Now when we go in and grab the character's head, the hair does not follow. Alright, so again, it's really straightforward, but very essential. Now, the last thing I'd like to point out before we close this lesson off is the subject of freezing transforms. Very important, because after we have established this hierarchy, we'll go ahead and close this out, we'd want to always get back to this very same position. So if the character needs to go back to what is called the T-stance or neutral pose, we need a fast way to do that in case we need to go back and make adjustments from this T-stance. So in order to do this, we can go ahead and freeze our object's transforms. So we can go ahead and work with a tool that will quickly allow us to snap back to this very position. But just to show you the importance of this, if I were to go ahead and start to rotate the character's chest, how are we going to get it back to that very same spot? Are we going to go ahead and try to rotate it back? No. Let me go ahead and show you this. If we were to go ahead and Alt right click, we can get to our animation quad menu from here. You might see some tools that you don't see in your Animate Quad menu because I've customized this menu, and we'll learn about that towards the end of this course because it's just a way to save a lot of time. I really enjoy this feature. But what we could use to bring the torso back in this case is set transform to 0 here from our Animate Quad menu. But notice nothing's going to happen because we never froze that object. So what I'll do is go ahead and undo back to where the chest was set back to its neutral pose. What we do is go ahead and highlight all of our objects here. And now we want to Alt right click and choose Freeze Transform. Let's go ahead and choose yes. What this is basically telling us here is that Max is going to go in and add new controllers so that we can replace the original controllers that were not frozen. So it's going to give us a clean slate when we choose yes. Now, if we were to go ahead and rotate our chest, Alt right click and choose Transform to 0, notice the character pops back, which is wonderful, trust me, because there are times where you'll be animating or posing and you need to get back to that T stance. If you forget to do this, it's going to be a hassle. You might have to revert back to a previous file in order to get this functionality. Now, just to take a quick look at the controller that Max has added, we can head over to our motion panel. If we were to go ahead and scroll down here in our position list, you can see we have a frozen list. This is the original list. And then here is our 0 position. All right, so this is our new 0 position that we've established using the Freeze Transform tool. All right, so very helpful. And we'll learn more about this as we proceed. When we get into creating animator-friendly controls, we'll learn some things that we most certainly want to keep in mind. But that's it for this lesson. We have learned the most basic form of rigging, which is parenting or linking, as Max terms it. Now in the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and learn how to modify an object's pivot.